Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Sonia Musakuti and today I will be discussing about maxillary sinus. So before going into our topic, we all know that sinuses are air-filled spaces. So maxillary sinus are paranasal sinuses and these are air-filled spaces which are present within the bone around the nasal cavities. So there are other examples for paranasal sinuses too, and they are frontal sinus, sphenoidal sinus, ethmoidal sinus and maxillary sinus. Before going into a topic, please make sure that you subscribe my channel, like this video and share to your friends. So coming into a topic, the maxillary sinus is also called as the antrum of Highmore. It is the largest among the paranasal sinuses. It is entirely within the maxilla and it doesn't have any direct contact with the oral cavity. Next, we will roughly go about the development of maxillary sinus. The maxillary sinus is first to develop among the paranasal sinuses. It is rudimentary at birth, enlarges rapidly during the 6 to 7 years, and becomes fully developed at puberty after the eruption of permanent teeth. The maxillary sinus is lined by mucoperiosteum with a pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelium. It is pyramidal in shape and its base is directed medially towards the lateral wall of nose and apex is directed laterally in zygomatic process of maxilla. The size of the maxillary sinus is variable with 3.5 cm in height, 2.5 cm in width and 3.2 cm anteroposteriorly. Next, we will talk about the relation of this maxillary sinus with the adjacent structures. The relations include roof, floor, base, the anterior wall, the posterior wall and the apex. The roof of the maxillary sinus is formed by the floor of the orbit. The infraorbital nerve and artery transfers the roof in a bony canal. The floor, although it is very small, it is formed by the alveolar process of maxilla and it lies about 1.25 cm below the floor of the nasal cavity. Here, the floor of the cavity corresponds to the level of the ala of the nose. Normally, the roots of the first and the second molar project into this floor producing elevation. But sometimes roots of the first and second premolar, third molars and rarely canines also project into the floor. Sometimes the roots of these teeth are separated from the sinus only by a thin layer of mucous lining. Next is the base. The base is formed by the lateral wall of the nose. It has an opening or ostium of sinus in its upper part that is close to the roof. The apex of the maxillary sinus extends into the zygomatic process of maxilla, while the anterior wall is formed by the anterior surface of the body of the maxilla and it is related to infraorbital plexus of nerves. Posterior wall is formed by the infratemporal surface of the maxilla, separating the sinus from the infratemporal and pterygopalatine fossa. Next, we will go about the functions of maxillary sinus. Reduction of weight of the facial skeleton, phonetic resonance and auditory feedback, insulation, air conditioning, water conservation, olfaction are the functions of maxillary sinus. In this video, apart from the basic information regarding the maxillary sinus, I have included the disorders of maxillary sinus as well. So, the disorders of maxillary sinus have many classifications, one of which I will be discussing here. The disorders of maxillary sinus can be classified into three: developmental, inflammatory and cyst. In order to make this video short, I will be discussing only the most important disorders of maxillary sinuses. The most common disorder of maxillary sinus is the maxillary sinusitis. Inflammation of the mucosa of the paranasal sinuses is referred to as sinusitis. So when the maxillary sinus is involved, it is called as maxillary sinusitis. There are various types depending upon the duration: acute, subacute and chronic. The etiological reasons causing the maxillary sinusitis can be broadly classified into two: dental causes and non-dental causes. The dental causes include periapical infection from the teeth, oroantral fistula, periodontitis, traumatic infections, dental material in the antrum, implant, infected dental cyst, etc. While the non-dental causes include mechanical obstruction of the ostium due to common cold, allergic rhinitis or other conditions, direct bacterial contamination, immune deficiency, influenza, bloodborne infection, and other diseases of the maxillary sinus. Next, we will go about the clinical features of acute maxillary sinusitis. The symptoms include severe pain, which is constant and localized. The pain may be felt in the area of eyeball, cheek, and frontal region. Pain may be exacerbated by stooping or lowering the head. Pain is increased by biting on the affected side but unaffected by drinking hot, cold, or sweet fluid. Pain may be referred to various areas, including the teeth, orbit, head, and ear. The other symptoms include postnatal drip, generalized toxemia, nasal discharge, nasal mucosa which is showing reddening and inflammation. Next, we can discuss about the radiographic features. The radiographic features include thickening of the mucous membrane and the accumulation of secretions that accompany sinusitis reduce the air content and it will appear as radio-opaque. Last but not the least comes the management of the maxillary sinusitis. The management includes removal of the cause of the dental infection, antibiotics for infection control. The most commonly used antibiotic is doxycycline hydrochloride, which is given in a dose of 100 mg per day. The other drugs include analgesic and anti-inflammatory drugs, nasal decongestant, steam inhalation, andral lavage, etc. So that was the end of my today's video. I hope all of you found it useful and interesting. Thank you.